Nicely struck by Davy Cooper. Back with Wilkins.
Hi there, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday edition of This Is Ibrox. Apologies for the delay there. I can't even use the fact that I was listening to the intro as an excuse for this one. But thanks to everybody for sticking with us. Today I'm joined by Dave and Shug. How are you doing today, Dave?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good. Hands feel a bit empty, nothing to do, but other than that, hi, fine.
And what about yourself, Shug?
Yep, I'm slowly getting over jet lag and getting back into British time, but yeah, hopefully be back to normal tomorrow and just in time for the real football starting again.
That's it. It's at least you would have had a nice game to watch yesterday to get you back into the swing of things. But look, we got loads to talk about on today's show. Can't believe it that we do have an actual game to discuss. Feels like it's been yonks since Rangers have played. Albeit it was only a friendly against Bayer Leverkusen. We're going to discuss some of the post-match comments with the young team and the manager seeming to go out and doing all those duties. I want to talk about potential winners and losers possibly within the BEALE'S system. We've got a few names. I'll chuck them at you, and I'm sure everybody in the comments can get involved in it as well. And talk about some of the moves we could possibly make in the January transfer window. But Shug, I didn't perhaps prep you on this one, but I know I'll come to you on this first because it's not every day Rangers win a cup. Of course, the women's team won the Sky Sports Cup at Tynecastle, beating Hibs 2-0 with two unbelievable goals, Lizzie Arnott and Kirsty Howitt. I know you're a follower of the women's team, Shug. How do you feel that the fact that that's a cup that they've got and that's Malky Thompson added to his domestic trophy that he won last year?
Yeah, that's good to see. That's the first cup victory we've had in the women's game, so it was good. Kirsty Howitt sort of turned the game, I thought, when she came on. Thought she had a real input in it. And Lizzie Arnott's strike is just something that if it was in the English Premier League, it would be replayed time and time again on Sky Sports News. It was an unbelievable strike. But yeah, no, it's a brilliant to see us getting that trophy in the cabinet, and now we can focus on the league before the Scottish Cup starts.
Yeah, it's good, and hopefully the women's team going from strength to strength here. But I said it'd be remiss of us not to mention it in a Rangers podcast. Is quality a trophy this early in December. Right, Dave, I'll come to you first. I said I know everybody watching this. I don't know if they know, but I like doing a wee on this day. And on this day in 1994, Rangers sold Duncan Ferguson to Everton after joining from Dundee United for 4.2 million a year earlier, which is so crazy to me that we are spending like 4.2 million quid in like 1994 on players from Dundee United. But he played 21 games and he scored 5. What was your memories of Big Dunk and his time at Rangers?
I think just he got it, if that makes any sense. You know, he was a proper footballer, none of this kind of namby-pamby stuff that you get these days, and he really seemed to get the club, and I think even now, you know, he's good things to say about us. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's that. I know we had our own Reese or Ross, I can't remember which one it was a bit worried when he was linked with the vacant manager's job.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, and Shug, you're on this day in 2001. Rangers appointed Alec McLeish as the club's new manager. Dick Advocat moved upstairs to the director of football role, the Ross Wilson role, so to speak. He won 2 titles, 5 cups in 5 years, and obviously there was a treble in that as well. But a stat here that really stood out to me was he only lost 36 out of 235 games, which, I mean, that must put him up there with one of the highest percentage win rates of Rangers managers.
Yeah, he came in at the time Dick Advocat, I'm sure, moved upstairs to be our first director of football. Judge him against Ross Wilson as you wish. but he came in when things started sort of stagnating under Dick Herdicott, and what a turnaround. It was not a big fanfare. It wasn't like whoopie-doo, we've got the biggest, greatest manager ever. But Celtic were sort of starting to take something that I hadn't been used to in my life. I think Celtic were 2 in a row, and that was the worry setting in my lifetime. Rangers had been winning 9 in a row, and then Celtic won 1, and then we won it twice again. So McLeish just put an end to that without even having to spend big money. And I think towards the end he was hampered by the fact that he wasn't allowed to spend. But it's he can be very proud of what he achieved with us, and with treble and helicopter Sunday will never ever be forgotten. Neither will the Dunfermline game either. When they lay down to us, that fateful day. So yeah, 2 great title victories under Alex McLeish.
That was really subtle that you got that in there, Shug.
Yeah.
It's clearest day they lay down to us. Well, come on, it were trying the hardest.
Exactly. It had to be done, didn't it? It's brought great memories for us all that day, especially against Dunfermline. But look, we'll crack on to the game yesterday. I said I'll come to you first, Miss Dave. I said I am very, very, very well aware that it was a friendly, and Michael Beale did caveat it with he knows that Leverkusen weren't going full pelt, but it wouldn't be Rangers if I wasn't something to discuss and get into it. But fair play to all those that went yesterday and went out into the cold to go and welcome the new manager, who described that game as a bit of in the way after his post-match press conference there. But Rangers lined up with McGregor, Tav, King, Sands, Devine at left back, Jack and Kamara sort of sitting in the holding midfield in roles. I was going to say, initially I'd written this down as Cholak up front with Matondo on the right, Kent on the left, and Tillman through the middle, but it seemed to be a bit more Tillman on the right, Kent playing as the sort of central number 10, and Matondo on the left, and Cholak up through the middle. Do you think this is a kind of a similar starting to 11 to what we'll see on Thursday, Shug?
I think it.
Sorry, Dave.
Potentially. I know you're on some form tonight, but
it's been one of those nights. It's because it started late and I didn't know what was going on with it. So
knocked you off kilter. Actually, I think Dougie's just kind of nailed it there in the comments where he said of 3 Roman roles. We saw a lot of this under Gerrard, and I think Beale is pretty widely acknowledged having definitely a hand in those tactics, if not the main man when it came to them. So, I fully expect we'll see quite a lot of rotation in the front. Beale himself is an attacking coach. I was watching a kind of breakdown, and he basically splits them into defence, midfield, and attackers, and he has different coaches working with each section. So Beale himself works with the attackers, he said. I'm not surprised to see it, and I think I would imagine the hope will be that they can get Kent back on some kind of form as well. Because if you think about it, that inverted 10 role, as they called it, was pretty much when we saw the best out of Kent. No being a fan of Tillman on the right thus far under Gio, but, obviously different coach working with him, different expectations, not expected to stay out there. Gio was very much a man, my wingers are wingers. I think he said he wanted them touching the white chalk. So, that was his expectation. Whereas for Beale, we want some coming in, that inverted 10, swapping over. So, I don't think there was too much surprise to see that fluidity back. And it looked good. I'm not going to lie. You said it yourself. It's a friendly, right? We're not going to win the league off the back of beating Leverkusen in a friendly, but it was just something that we could identify with. And I think for a lot of fans, that's probably what had been missing under Gio for the last few months.
Yeah, that's it exactly. There's a wee comment here from Prime Time, and he says, "Did Cholak actually get a touch of the ball in the first half?" Something we'll definitely come on to. I think we're going to come on to the potential winners and losers within Beale's system. But I feel bad, Shug. I did tease you, so I'm keen to get your thoughts on what you thought the starting 11 was like, and would you be happy, say, if Devine lined up at left back, which it looks like he will against Hibs on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, how dare Bonner, president of the World Cup over us, should be straight on the plane back rather than sitting on the bench, and we're looking forward to either the third, fourth game or the final. Absolute disgrace. But yeah, no, I can see that same 11 being the 11 that go out on Thursday night. I know he's mentioned Goldson and Davies coming back, but they never get any minutes in, so they can't be that close. If they were close or they'd been training, then they would have been on the bench. I was surprised that Davies' injuries actually lasted as long as it did.
Yeah.
I thought his knock and missing the St Mirren game was literally just another weak job or something like that. But no, it's obviously been something more serious this time. But hopefully, for about the 100th time in the last 2 years with Rangers, this will be the end of an injury problem. But yeah, no, it's you can see the Beale impact immediately in that he likes his strikers narrow, his attacking players narrow, giving that width to James Tavernier. Maybe not so much Devine. Don't expect him to bomb forward as much, but I think when Bonner and then Yilmaz come back into the game, I think there'll be plenty of room for them going forward. It was good to see Tav getting 2 assists as well. Something that's been missing from his game all season. When we confidently predicting that he would be our top goal contributor, I think it was in pre-season, thinking he'd get 100 penalties from VAR and he'll set up 100. But oh yeah, I'm still confident he probably will end up. Although he did miss that penalty, but if he's going to miss a penalty, let's make it in friendlies when they don't matter. So yeah, no, it was good. It was a good run out. Like you said, Beale did say that it was getting in the way. I think he very much just wants to have the players on the training pitch as long as he can just now. I'm sure he cancelled the Swansea friendly when he came in. Obviously, he's rather get his ideas across. But it's a good start to his tenure, and believe it or not, I'm actually excited to go to Ibrox on Thursday night. It's been a while since I've been excited to go to a game. So it's, even though it'll probably be about -20 by that time, I'll make sure I wrap up well, but hopefully the football will keep me entertained.
I think that's one of the big take-home messages from yesterday, was how entertaining at times the football was. It seemed to be quicker. It was 1-2 touches, and it was a bit more. I'm sure, get your bingo cards out, because the word fluid will be coming up several times on this podcast. But look, Dave, I'll come to you in the first goal. 14 minutes. Something Shug alluded to earlier on there. We ended up getting to see the first of 2 Tav assists here. Jack ends up with the ball in the sort of centre of the park. He finds Tav out on the right. Tav's about 25 yards out, touching the touchline, and he swings on a fantastic ball with his right foot. It's right. It bounces in a dangerous area, and it bounces up just nice for Tillman to come in and hit it right on the half volley. Is this something that Tillman's been missing? Is it the way the system that Gio's been playing? Because for me, I was expecting Tillman to score a lot of goals like this. What was your thoughts on the first goal that Rangers scored in a friendly?
So I think first off, it shows us exactly what we've been missing from Tav. Before we even get on to Tillman, that kind of ball into the box for the attackers to pick up on. Fair play, they've been filling in balls into the box, but there's not been anybody there to capitalise in the right place. I think the players seemed a lot more assured of the kind of what they were actually meant to be doing. And that, that wasn't a hit and hope. That was, you saw him lift his head, have a look, hit it. And that is something we almost became spoilt with, I would suggest, under Gerrard and sort of early Gio era, because he didn't change too much. A lot of fans getting on Tavernier's case for not doing it, but realistically, a lot of fullbacks don't do that as consistently as he does. And I think there is an element of being spoiled by kind of what we've had before from him. Tillman, extremely well taken goal, and I don't think that should actually be understated. Yes, it did bounce up nicely for him, but he still had to get his hip round, get behind it, get it on target. I thought it was a cracking goal. Um, to go back to your initial point, yes, I thought this would very much be something we'd see off from Tillman. I think just in that early stages of the season, when everyone went through the "we need to sign this guy now" phase, I think that's what we were seeing. He was kind of pushing on. It's almost like Scotty Arfield making those kind of runs into the box, being in the right place at the right time. It seemed to die off a bit, but that was a squad thing, I would suggest, rather than just a Tillman thing. I think there's a lot of players didn't really know kind of where they should be or what they should be doing at various points. I think Beale coming back in can only be good for Tillman. This is a coach that, quite talented youngsters are supposedly keen to work with. I think there was a boy that went to QPR basically for the fact he was going to be coached by Beale.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells you how well regarded he is as a coach. And I think give him a season with Tillman, or half a season, I suppose, I think a lot of people will be back at the let's get this guy signed stage. So yeah, really well taken goal. I would say hopefully the sign of things to come, but it did just shortly after, which I'm sure Shug will be speaking about. But yeah, I think it's good news, and I think Tillman can only benefit from it in the long run.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with you at all there. I think that that he will be a good player, and he will fit right into Beale's way of playing. Shug, we'll come on to you talking about the second goal, the second of Tav's assist in here. It was an out-swinging corner. Near post was definitely overloaded. King and Cholak sort of ran towards that near post as well, but Malik Tillman was the player that found a great wee bit of space in between two of the Leverkusen defenders, and he just battered the header home. Maybe remiss of a Duncan Ferguson header back in the day, just to do a wee throwback there, but yeah, Harry Watland seems to possibly be having an effect at Rangers already, being the set piece coach. How were you, or how did you feel about this goal?
Yeah, it's something I can remember. It must have been right at the very start of the season. I know he scored the goal against, was it Union, when he got the whole Air Tillman stuff. But
Yeah.
there was at least once he flicked the ball on at the front post the way Joe Aribo used to. And I immediately thought, well, they are Tillman's a replacement for Aribo at corners. And then it never happened. It never ever happened after that. So it's good. Set piece coach is what we need, because we know at Rangers we are going to have loads of corners, loads of free kicks around about the box. It's somewhere we can make great gains from, because we don't score enough, nowhere near enough. And yeah, Tillman's shown that he has got that heading ability, and somebody else in the box that we can aim for, because you've always got a couple of centre halves. Johnny Lundstrom didn't start yesterday, which was a wee bit of a shock. But he's another one that brings height to the game. So James Sands, when he played it, remember when we were playing Sands, Lundstrom, with King and with Davies, with like 5 or 6 players all over 6 foot, and we weren't winning any corners, and it was like crazy. So hopefully now we've got the set piece coach, we'll start scoring more often. And yeah, I'm looking forward. Tillman's playing. I think he was hamstrung a little bit by the way. Don't want to criticise Cholak, but Cholak being that 9 and staying up front didn't give him that space to get in behind. Whereas under Gerrard, and I'm sure under Beale, we've seen Morelos evolve under Gerrard, and he started dropping deeper and allowed that space for Arfield and things at the time to then push on and get on behind. So I think that's the kind of player that we're going to see Malik Tillman, especially if he's coming from the deeper when he's almost in that 8 position, playing in that 8-10 role. He can go on and get in that space behind, because although I'm sure you'll come to Scotty Arfield's goal, he missed an absolute setter just before that. So hopefully Tillman can get that. And then it's interesting to think that was probably our 3 best chances came from the midfielder making the run beyond the striker. So it's can already identify little bits of Beale's games and tactics and style going forward, and it's really good. And I think it's proven now that the board did the right thing in getting Gio out before, and to get Beale in to give them that time to work on things. So set pieces are obviously paying off already, and then that if that is a new tactic to make sure our attacking midfielders getting beyond, it's paid off already too. So yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. Just it was interesting, and I was out with having a walk with Craig earlier on today, obviously, who does this podcast, and we were discussing how, you know, when Gio came in, I didn't think that the style of football had actually changed that much, if you know what I mean, with him in it. But now seeing Beale back, and now going back to some very familiar things that we've seen before, it just shows you how different the style actually has changed. But look, Dave, I'll come on to you in this one. In terms of it, it's just sort of summing up the sort of next wee bit of the game. Going on to half time, there was a raft of changes. McLaughlin, Wright, Arfield, Davis, Lundstrom, Fashion Jr. and Morelos all came on. And then round about the 70-minute mark, Fashion Jr. came back off. We understood that was pre-arranged before the game. Alex Lowry came on, somebody we've not seen in a wee while as well. And then Shug's already alluded to it, round about the 80-minute mark, Rangers got a penalty and Tav misses the penalty. There's a wee comment here from Gaza Legend. I just want to bring it up. Tav off penalty. I don't know, I'm guessing you might have seen that. What was your thoughts on this, Tav potentially being taken off the penalties, and how good was it to see Lowry back in the Rangers shirt?
So I'll tackle Tav first, not literally, obviously, but
please don't.
No, I don't think we can afford the injuries. Can Devine play both at the same time?
Yeah.
No, it's a tough one. I mean, just take the England game with Harry Kane as an example. You know, everyone piles on someone when they miss a penalty, but I see it all the time, and especially about Tav from that mob the other side of the city, and they talk about, you know, oh, he only scores penalties. Well, penalties a goal, just the same as anyone else. And if anything, it's probably harder because it's higher pressure. You've got the time to sit and think about it, whereas when you're playing 9 or 10, it's just instinct. You know, you've got that time, you've got the goalkeeper trying to psych you out, you've got the whole crowd just waiting to go. So I think it's actually quite a hard situation to step up and take a penalty. And I think if you look at Tav, he's had some misses, yeah, but I'd say more often than not, he puts them away. And that's what you need. Now, it's fine saying take Tav off them. Okay, you know, theoretically, anyone can step up and take a penalty, but who do you get?
Yeah.
You know, are you saying that someone else is never going to miss a penalty? Because I don't believe it for a second.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, we can say, you know, someone else might have scored that, and maybe they would, but at the same time, everyone misses a penalty now and again. Nobody has a 100% record, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, if you're going to do it in a bloody friendly when it doesn't count, you know. Hopefully that means the next time he takes one, he scores it, and that'll count for us, important somewhere. So, that side of it, I disagree. I think Tav probably is the man to take them unless someone can show me otherwise. Lowry was just brilliant. I don't know what had gone on. I don't pretend to be in the know, but there was obviously some sort of souring of relations between him and Gio towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Some pointed comments were made about his attitude. Looks like Beale's going to give the guy a clean slate, which, you know, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Don't think he's playing these days, for is he?
No.
No. So I think he's getting a fresh chance, which is important. You know, he needs that clean slate. Beale, I'm sure, will have had words with him in the background if there was some kind of attitude problem. And he'll have said, look, you know, I'm going to give you a go, but you've got to show you deserve it. I think we've got to remember as well, the guy was out injured for a significant amount of time around that. So, you know, when you say his attitude was bad, if it was, is he dossing about when he should have been training? Because I'm sure we've seen training clips of him putting in the yards whilst others were away on holiday. So overall, I think with Lowry, he might have had a blip, right? He's a young lad. He might have had a slight attitude thing, but he's been slapped pretty hard by Gio. Beale's come in, given him a clean slate. On the pitch, I don't think anyone doubts what Lowry can do. We know this guy is, if he keeps his head down, screws the nut, he is a future first teamer for sure. Is he quite ready for a starting place yet? Debatable. You could cite the King example, but I think that's been forced rather than planned. I would like to see him given a more kind of gradual lead into the team, because I think in some senses it's maybe not been the best for King just to throw him straight in. But I think overall, I mean, his passing is incredible. The guy's sheer class, nobody can deny that. But he is going to have up and down spells, and that's just part of being a youth coming into full-time first-team football. So I'd like to see him phased in. I think he's very much got a place in the team, starting some games, not others, for this season. See where he goes. But it was just great to see him back, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, that's something that I feel personally could really, really unlock this squad is a passer. We're missing somebody who can find that sort of threading the ball through the eye of a needle type thing.
Steve Davis 2 years ago, isn't it?
That's that exactly. That's that exactly. Missing somebody exactly like that. Cubby Cubster, Shug says here, can't take much from a friendly, but was a good start. Well done, Michael Beale team. Well played. Let's get some pride back. I think the third goal yesterday epitomised some of that nice play. The aforementioned Alec Lowry had a deep run. He took the ball about 40 yards maybe, which was really good to see somebody carrying the ball that far. It's just something we're not accustomed to, because the ball goes back and forward around that horseshoe.
It's called a horseshoe, Kyle.
He finds Lundstrom about 25 yards out. There's a wee interchange between some of the players, and then Morelos with his arse back to goal threads a lovely pass for Arfield, and you talked about it. He did miss a bit of a sitter a few minutes before that, but this was a really, really good team goal. Shug, what was your thoughts on this goal?
Firstly, my thoughts is I can't wait to hear the back of the word horseshoe. It's done my dinger in. Even at the World Cup, we're getting
traumatized, mate. Traumatized.
It's a new low bloke. That's it, horseshoe. It's a new low bloke. I'm just still too old school. It was a good goal and well worked goal. It's interesting to see Morelos with a regular haircut and looking back to regular Morelos. Might even have shed a pound, but he looked sharp in the second half. He didn't obviously get much goal action. He had one good shot, I'm sure, from the edge of the box, but his link-up play was really good, I thought, and to set up that goal for Arfield, just put it on a plate for him. So it's another one that we're hoping that Morelos and Kent, under their old coach Michael Beale, that they get that new lease of life, and we'll see them hopefully sign new contracts if they drop their wage demands a bit. But if they can get back to form, we know the assets they can be for us. And it's not too long ago that they were firing us to a European final and firing us to 55. So it's one of the other positive things that came out of yesterday. But I'm gonna, as much as I love Morelos, I'll hold my tongue on him, because I'm sure when Gio came in, he came out of a slump and was absolutely firing, and then went bad after his injury again. So it was a good day, and I think 3-0 was fair. I think we could have had 5, 6. I know Leverkusen aren't coming back anytime soon. They're not exactly up for the game, and they were just playing as a kickabout, I think. But so that we were capable of getting that amount of goals, it's getting still quality players. It bodes well for the Birmingham on Thursday night.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Hopefully it does. I'll take a wee 3-0 win at this stage already.
Can I just add to that, Kyle?
On you go.
See that third goal? Do we even score that under Gio? Because for as long as I can remember, like if we were 2 up, we'd have been sat back just doing nothing, just keeping the ball. It was good to see that kind of desire to keep going and to get that third goal. And I think sometimes we've missed that.
100%. I think that, believe it or not, I think that's the type of goal that Gio tried to score. But we just didn't have the intensity and this will bring me on very, very nicely to my next question, Dave.
Our group chat's going to explode if you're going where I think you're going.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping you're going there. I'm hoping.
Right, well, Dave, I'll stick with you on this because this is from the manager's comments, right? And Michael Beale says, after the press conference, it was great. I'm not saying Gio wasn't honest or anything like that, but some of his press conferences were a bit monotone, a bit dull, a bit stereotypical Dutch here. But he says that he's trying out the new ideas, getting it from this friendly, and possibly it was a distraction this just up until Thursday. But he said it was a different type of fitness to what we have right now. It got people talking, so I'm dying to know what you think about this, and do you think there is something to it? Because if you're the manager of Rangers Football Club, you don't say a comment like that without querying the fitness, given how we know how fit these guys were under the previous regime.
So this could just be my old school head tears, but I think it's all bollocks, mate. I don't think there's a different kind of fitness. You can have different intensity. You can, apply that fitness in different ways. But fitness is fitness. You're either fit or you're not. You're either built up or you're not. And I think that was probably Beale alluding to the fitness without flat out saying these guys weren't fit under Gio, because that's going to be a bit of a knife in the back, given all the kind of stuff we've already had about him being in the director's box, and that's probably the last thing he's going to want to do. But to me, that just says, in his eyes, he didn't feel that the players were fit enough to do what he wanted them to do. And then, obviously that's something he's been working on in this close time between now and the friendly. I've never heard of different kinds of fitness in here. Happy to be corrected. I'm sure there's some sports scientist out there waiting to pull me up on it. But to me, I took that as Beale saying they weren't fit enough for what he wanted them to do, if I'm being honest. Yeah,
that's an interesting point. And Shug, I can see you absolutely champing at the bit here.
Where's Gavin when we need him?
Yes. I do take the point. There is different kinds of fitness. There's the fitness there where you can just run about at a constant pace for 90 minutes or whatever, and then there's that fitness where you've just got to constantly keep busting. And I guess that's when it comes into press and play. You've got to be able to raise that fitness and then recover and go again, kind of thing. So I kind of know a wee bit about the fitness, but I think in general, I think the majority of fans that have watched the games this year have said that we don't look as fit as what we had done. And I think Scott Arfield alluded to that they did more ball work in the summer in pre-season than actual running. It wasn't the good old days of going and running the stand gym. Wasn't it that? So I think they alluded to it. I know Gavin's adamant about the coaches and that stayed the same, but they didn't, because it was Gio brought in his own fitness coach to lead it. So I think somebody had said in our chat that you can still do 40 hours of training a week, and maybe under Gerrard it was 12 of them were fitness, but maybe under Gio only 8 of them were fitness orientated kind of thing. So I think that's definitely what's happened. We've not been able to, you can still post numbers, but in general, can you post them numbers time and time again? And I don't think that's what we're focused on as much in pre-season. I think it shows in games when we're not closing, we're not pressing to the very end. The only problem is that I think with Beale saying about the fitness, he can't fix it now. It's something that's got to be done in pre-season. You've got to lay that. You've got to have that base layer laid initially. You can't just build it halfway through the season. I think most of Beale's training between now and we know we're going into the Christmas period, so it's going to be busy. So most of his training is going to be about tactics and things around that and player positions and things like that. So it'll be next summer before we get the chance to actually see us get the old fitness workout again. And I'm absolutely certain that Rangers will come back a fitter team next August than what they were this August.
Yeah. There we go. Listen, I was up for disagreeing with you there, but who am I to disagree with a Paralympic athlete?
Aye.
So I'll hold my hands up on that one and bow to your knowledge there. Shug.
I eat pizza. I know nothing about fitness. Don't tell my coaches.
Not at all. And I've just seen this in the comments, just to swiftly change direction here. James Strachan is asking if this is live now, just to confirm it is live. And hello all the way in Australia there, James. You can maybe perhaps catch one of our fellow podders out there, Stephen. I bet this is just Stephen's roommate and he's just having us a wind-up. But there we go. I'll stick with you, Shug, on this because I thought this was quite another interesting comment in regards to fitness and injuries and coming back. Michael Beale in the post-match press conference surprisingly said that he was expecting to have 4 options, not 2 at centre half. Expecting Ben Davies and Connor Goldson to be at least on the bench for this game. That's unbelievable. Great news, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant news, but hopefully it's managed properly. And I think he also alluded to the fact that he will be managing it properly because we've got a busy period coming up. So there's no point in bringing players in to get injured on Thursday night and be out for a long time again. So, I mean, that's personally why I think it will probably be King and Sands on Thursday night. Yeah. I don't think he's going to rush people back with the Christmas period. I think I would rather have Connor Goldson back for the Aberdeen game, being fit and well. I think it's important that we manage these players through this time and make sure we get them back up to that level of fitness. Because I'm sure, like the 55 season, we just didn't suffer injuries. And it's something that, again, I can go back to what's happened under Gio and the backroom staff and things, and I don't know if that's Ross Wilson's job, since Ross Wilson's job isn't signing players. Ross Wilson's job is to talk about Ross Wilson in the third person. I don't know what's happening with the medical team, but we seem to have lost something. And I think Beale alluded to that himself about changes and things like that in the medical department. Something that we're going to have to build back up again. Get back to where we were, because the management of the players hasn't been right, and there's no way we should be having the recurring injuries that we continuously get. And players going out for 3 weeks, it turns into 3 months. Tom Lawrence being another example and things like that. So we've got a lot of good players to come back, so it could be an interesting couple of months ahead. January transfer window is going to be fantastic because we're going to have like 7 new players without actually signing anybody. So it's really good to see.
Looking forward to cheering Portia, son, Shug.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get started on Ryan Porter. We don't need a 6th choice centre half at Rangers. Even with 5 injuries, he'd still struggle to get a game. But yeah, arguably Goldson and Davis are our first choice centre halves. So the fact that they're close to coming back is good, and I would certainly love to have them 2 lining up on the 2nd of January.
No, that's that exactly. I'll just scrub out Shug Ryan Portis question mark here. That's the last on the podcast done, because he just summed that up nicely there for us. But I thought Ross was morphing. Shug was morphing into Ross Wilson there at one point when he was giving us the 7 players will be back, like 7 new signings injury patter. But there we go. Look, my next question, Dave, I'll come on to you for this one. I thought it was really nice seeing Leon King and Adam Devine getting sent out to do the post-match interviews. I thought it was really interesting hearing Leon King talking about Robbie Fraser in particular, and saying, it was very good to see him coming on, and he's got the mentality, and he's been doing well in the B squad, the B team, sorry. And that means, I'm glad to see that King's very much in that first team player mentality. If he's saying that, which is good to see. And Adam Devine as well just talked about the intensity and everybody in training, and another thing he said was that everybody's fighting for a position. Something that I've learned that the team under Gio was that it didn't matter how bad you played, you were always going to retain your place. What's your thoughts on two young guys hitting out with quite encouraging comments?
I think it's really good. That sort of thing, I mean, yes, it'll been worked on, and how to deal with the press and whatnot, it'll been worked on since they came into the first team. But it's quite clear that even, at a youth level, those are the same sort of standards that they're expected to maintain and notice. I think King very much is a first team player now, through necessity, in fairness. He is very much seen as a first team player. For me, Devine's a bit of a strange one. He should be a first team player. In theory, he's Tav's backup, but yet we just never seem to see him. Even when there was the whole debate, was Tav in form or injured or a bit of both? Or sorry, off form or injured? We never really saw anything in Devine, so it's a bit of a strange one, but he's obviously got that mentality, and I don't think he did himself any harm yesterday. I know it was only friendly again, but he didn't look terrible. And given that was out of position, that's a really good thing. You would hope, sort of from the players' side of things, you would hope everyone is aware they're fighting for their place. Again, you hit the nail on the head when you said, before, it didn't matter how badly you played. You knew 3/4 of the team were going to be the same the next time.
Yeah.
And that was a mixture of injuries and the manager, I think, to be fair. It's easy to say it was just injuries, but, there was some that actually wasn't necessarily just injuries. I think right wing, for example, Scott Wright went for a bit of a poor patch, and yet we knew he was going to keep starting because he didn't like Sakala, even though he was fit and available. So, it's a mix of the two. I think all the players should be fighting for their place, and that shouldn't just be because a new manager's come in. That should be every bloody game. Nobody should be guaranteed to start, and that's from Kent through to Tav, through to the young lads. They have to believe as well, I think, that there is a place for them. It's a lot easier to motivate yourself if you think, right, if I do a really good job and they have a couple of poor games, I'm going to get that role and I'm going to get a chance to stake my claim. Whereas if you're sat there like poor Devine must have been, I'll go back to him again because he's quite an obvious case of it. And he must have been sat there thinking, what the hell do I need to do to get a game at times, Yeah. So, I think really encouraging. It speaks of the kind of one club approach that we heard a bit about before the World Cup, and can only be a sign of good things to come.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. I was the guy that sits next to us at Ibrox. He works for the Scottish schools developments and stuff like that. And he said that he did work briefly with Adam Devine and that he was a good player. I can't remember what game he came on and made his debut in, but he was rotten, and I was like, don't know about this. But
Cup game, was it not?
Yeah,
I can't remember now because I remember the game because I was the same as you. I just thought, Jesus, this guy's not exactly great, is he? But you don't want to slate a youth, but at the same time, he didn't look great. But I thought yesterday he done all right,
Yeah, no, he's really, really come on. He's impressed me in the Queen of the South game as well. He impressed me yesterday. Again, I know they're not full intense games, but the fact that he didn't particularly look out a massive out of place when, as you said, he was out of position. But great to see two young guys getting game time and thriving in Ibrox, to be honest. Look, so the next part of the podcast, Shug, I'll come to you in this one. I don't know how I've sort of I'm going to say how to sort of do this, but I'm talking about the sort of winners and losers within. I was going to say Beale ball, but I don't want another text off Tommy again. So I'll say under sort of Beale's style of play. There's some players here that I think will not fit into it. I think there's some players here that will be winners coming out of it, and there's some that have no idea. Everybody, let us know in the comments who you think will be the sort of winners and losers of Beale's style of play. Shug, I'm going to give you the 4 that I think will be the winners. Tillman, Kamara, Tav, and Kent are the 4 players that I think we will see make massive improvements under Beale. Do you agree or do you disagree?
I agree with them all. Kent's the only one I question because he's just been so out of form. I don't know if it's... He looked a bit better yesterday, so I don't know if it's change of position or different styles going to suit him more, but he's just been so out of form with everything apart from one cross this season. He doesn't seem to be able to beat a man, so I don't know. Maybe it'll be a mind frame thing, maybe it'll be a different mindset that he'll be in when he comes back, but he really has to... If he puts in the performances that he's been putting in so far, I don't think it matters what position he plays in. He's not really going to offer much, but I guess Michael Beale's maybe the right man to get it out of him. So I can see him being better, and I would throw Bonner into a winner as well.
Yeah,
I think so. I think he wins under Beale because I think purely, not that I'm saying he's going to be the best defender in the world ever, but we all know what Bonner's strengths were, and that was getting forward and putting crosses in. And it appears that from yesterday watching Tav, Bale's going to go down the same route as Gerrard in that mind, and we're going to see Bonner going forward, especially when we've got the Jackamara back.
Yeah,
The midfielder, so that'll be the cover to let Tav get forward and let Bonner get forward. And I think that's where Bonner's strengths lies. Remember, we were always talking, he was in competition with somebody, never revealed who it was about them, who got the most assists. So I don't know. It's just a wee outside bit, but that would maybe just be because he's going to be a World Cup winner. So can he be a World Cup winner? No, get success of it.
Listen, it would literally be the most Rangers thing ever if Bonner went over, won the World Cup, came back, and we played Yilmaz every game over the top of him. So, but that's interesting because I think that Yilmaz will perhaps be a winner within Beale's system. But Dave, I'll come on to you here. I've got 4 names that I've written down as the losers, so to speak. In it, for a Hill is kind of beat me to one as well. Cholak is one I think has the potential not to fit into this Beale system. Lundstrom was another one. I think I can't remember who it was. Was it you, Dave, that said at the start of the pod that you were surprised that Lundstrom didn't start? I was the same. And the other 2 that I've put down are Davies and Arfield. What do you feel about those guys? Do you think they won't quite fit into a Beale system, or do you think it's just a bit time?
I think Davies probably is time up in the season. I think Arfield, I don't know, it's a tough one. I think he can offer something as very much a backup, one that comes on for the last kind of 20, 30 minutes. But obviously, you've got to factor in the wage demands there and what he's taken out of the club financially. If it's not too much, I think Arfield could still give something in limited spells. Davies, no. Cholak, sorry, I think is going to be the biggest loser out of it. What you said's bang on. I just don't think he necessarily fits the Beale system. I think he got a bit of hero worship from a lot of fans because obviously he had that goal scoring run. I actually think, and I'm sort of nicking Shug's question here, even though he's already answered it, but I actually think Morelos is a potential winner as well.
Yeah.
Just because thinking back to the last time, and again, we saw patches of it. Yes, in that game. I think potentially the way he plays, Beale isn't so much, an out-and-out number 9 that's going to bang in the goals. He wants that attacking threat coming from everywhere. And the one thing that I think most people do agree on is obviously Morelos is a lot better at holding up the ball than Cholak. So It's a really tough one because, I mean, Morelos has done himself zero favours this season. I think we can all agree that. His attitude's been rotten. His games that he's had a chance, he's been pretty rotten for the majority of it. But I do think there's a way for him to turn it around. And I think potentially he ends up being a winner over Cholak. Who was the fourth one you said, sorry?
I had Cholak, Lundstrom, Davies, and Arfield.
Lundstrom. Yeah, potentially Lundstrom. I think Kamara's the obvious winner. You hit the nail on the head there. I suppose it's who plays with Kamara. Again, I think it would come down to finance, a bit like Arfield. I think Lundstrom's maybe got a role. We're talking about Jack, and that's fine, but historically, Jack hasn't been able to put together long runs of games. So, you need those options, but then you can't have someone on 35, 40k a week that's going to fill in when Jack can't play. So, I think potentially those two may lose, but may not. I think the other two, Fode Davies and Cholak, I think big time are going to lose.
Yeah, it's we've got Terry Monroe. He's been making some interesting comments over on Facebook. He's been talking about Cholak would love to be playing up front. Given that if we're swinging balls in from the fullbacks, and saying here he's already got next season in mind with Cholak, Tillman, and a free low for Lowry. Shug, what do you think about that? About Cholak in that system? Do you think that he will fit into that system? I think it'll be just a wait and see, because I think a lot of the fans' attitude against Morelos is totally flipped from where it was sort of 6 months ago, just because the way that he's been, and that he's not really been firing on all cylinders this season.
Morelos has not been, but would you bet your house on him not showing up on Thursday night and absolutely battering Porteous?
Yeah.
And battering all the Porteous lovers and scoring the winner against Hibs? You just don't know what Morelos is going to show up. I think we'll cash in on him if we can, but Cholak, he should offer more of that threat going forward if we are going to be swinging these balls in. If we're going to get back to the 73 crosses, but I had the 73 crosses and he didn't show up. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if that's a role that Tillman's got, breaking beyond the front man, and he's going to be the one winning the crosses, because it was Tillman that benefited just from Tav's cross. So there's a few different ways it could play out. I love Morelos, but if Cholak's going to continue banging the goals in the Beale system, I think
but he hasn't been, has he?
But he had that run, and now Cholak's been quiet for a long time. He's not been banging in the goals. Oh, we all thought he was going to be CI goal man this season, but he looks like he's going to struggle to get 20 the way he's been playing. So I think a lot's going to fall into place over Christmas and New Year. I think it's going to be good having a lot of games in that time. I think a lot of people will get their chance. I think I'll never give up on the league until it's totally mathematically impossible, but I think there will be an eye on next season. I think you do sit down with Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos over this time, and you find out where their heads are, and if their heads are elsewhere, they don't play. You just say cheery bye. If you can get any money for them in January, on you go. And you do look towards next season and giving Lowry a chance. I think Lowry might suffer because of Tillman, because I think they operate a similar sort of role in that midfielders that want to get beyond and get forward. So,
and you've got Lawrence to throw into that as well, haven't you?
Lawrence back. So that could see a back of Kent. Lawrence fitting in that left side. So there's a few players Lowry's got ahead of him. But again, I would hope Michael Beale doesn't respect the Diddy teams, and we don't play Jack Amara against the Diddy teams, and we play a Lowry beside Kamara, or a Lowry beside Jack, or a Lowry beside Lundstrom, or drop Tillman that wee bit deeper, as we've seen in a couple of games. It's an interesting time. It's a good time to be a Rangers fan. getting a new manager. It's not something that we get a lot of historically. So it'll be interesting. We've all got our pre-ideas about Beale from his time as Gerrard's brains, basically. But he's already shown that he is going to operate a bit different, and we'll wait and see. But he's certainly wise enough to treat. I just want him to treat deadly clubs like deadly clubs and go out and beat them. I think there's something to be said somewhere between the Mark Warburton and the Gio, where Warburton was plan A, plan B, do plan A better, and then the Gio twinkering every single game. Because let's face it, in Scotland, we play against 10 deadly teams, and then we've got Hearts to play as well. So you want to just go out and just put your footprint down and say, this is the way
well
we play,
smooth,
and you adapt to us. Whereas in Europe, you need to change it a wee bit. So there's a middle ground to be found. I believe Beale's that man to do that.
I know. There we go. Something that I didn't know was possible in a podcast was fishing, but you've done it quite well there, Shug. I hope you catch a couple, all right. But like the last major point of the podcast that I'd like to talk, I'll come to you on this, Dave, because it's near January. There's already been a few rumours flying out there. We already know Shug's thoughts on one of them. I'll just absolutely nail my colours to the mast straight away as well and say that Ryan Porteous should not be anywhere near Rangers Football Club. Just let's call them antics, but it'd be an insult to call them antics. Just some of his completely unacceptable off-field behaviour, his attitude. I'll give you a minute to talk about Ryan Porteous positively.
I don't need a minute, mate. Forget his footballing abilities. He's a bloody Ned. You don't need the trouble. You've got folk in the comments here talking about Morelos' attitude, and fully agree. Sometimes it can come across really stinking. Why would you bring someone like Porteous to either Old Firm team? To be honest, it's just a recipe for disaster. The guy is an idiot. He's never going to change, from what I can tell. This isn't the first time it's happened. It's not a new thing for him. He just keeps making the mistakes, and I think before you even get to his footballing ability, you need to look at the character, and hard no for me.
Yeah, totally agree. Look, we'll look at a couple other players that I think might be worth discussing. Again, I was out my walk with Craig today, and I was saying that there's nobody really in the SPFL that I think that would come in and improve the squad. And then the more and more I thought about it, there was two names that I could think of, Dave, and that's Keanu Bacchus, who was obviously with Australia, got picked from St Mirren to be part of the Australia squad. I don't know if it's just because he went to the World Cup, he's a bit more, his name's out there a bit more. And the other one is a guy I know that's certainly sometimes discussed in our podcast group chat is Cammy Devlin of Hearts. Is this two guys, are these people that you think we should be looking at? Is it too many central midfielders? Or
see, it's a really tough one because you can sit and talk down Scottish players, and a lot of people will, and they're nowhere near good enough for us. But I think one thing you've got to remember for a start, these guys are playing in lesser squads in the main, other than Hearts, as Shug said. So you can't really fully judge them. We've seen a few examples now of players, so Doig, Ferguson, both gone over to Serie A playing.
Yeah.
They're not just making up the numbers, they are playing. Are we really going to sit there and say, none of these players would have got a game for us if they'd come? The other factor that I think you've got to take in there is obviously the European squads. We need a certain amount of homegrown talent. We need a certain amount of Scottish talent. So, you do need some of them. The two that you've mentioned, I'm not convinced so much about the boy from St Mirren. I think, if it hadn't been for the World Cup, I'm not all that convinced many folk would be talking about him. Devlin, it's hard to say. I mean, I've just literally sat here and talked about folks' attitude to players from Scottish teams, but he had a stupid moment against us, but other than that, he he almost reminds me like a Greg Docherty type player. I think he gives a lot. I just don't know if he's really fully got the ability to blossom in our squad or not. I suppose the only way is trying. So, there's probably an element of that. Devlin, I think if I had to pick one of the two, I'd say Devlin. But I do think still, as you say, we're not exactly short of central midfielders at the same time either. So, there's the potential other positions we could look at rather than centre mid.
Yeah, totally agree as well. It's just I was trying to think of that way where there's always somebody in the league that Rangers are kind of linked with, but there doesn't seem to be
boy from
anyone.
Ross County last season, wasn't it? I think he went down England in the end. The striker,
Charles Reagan Cook.
That's him. Yeah, did he not go down south?
I'm not. I thought he went to some
Belgium,
Turkey, or Belgium or something like that.
Bloody
There we go. Nobody knows. But
all three of the Willock brothers. There you go.
Well, that's it as well. That's I'm just about to come on to this, Shug. I'll leave this sort of final point to you in this. There's a few. Dougie said here, there's a whole world out there, not just the SPFL. I was just trying to focus on Scotland, just seeing as that's a market that Michael Beale's mentioned that we need to go into in terms of homegrown players, etc. But I've seen a few names here. I've seen Milinkovic-Savic. I think he's at Lazio at the moment. I think he would be a wee bit too outside our price range. Jorgensen, I'll hold my hands up there. I'll say I don't know anything about him. But that Willock, one of the Willock brothers, that seems quite interesting. What do you think? Do you think we might take some players from QPR or something like that? Or is there anybody that you can think of or you would like to see joining the club in January?
I've got the problem with Scottish players is you get the Rangers tax and they automatically double in price. And I've got a feeling with QPR we'll get the Beale tax on it. And anything reasonable will be doubled in price rather than selling to Michael Beale, because I don't think it was the most pleasant exits.
They took that well, didn't they?
So I don't really see him going back and getting anybody from QPR. I don't see he's paying much money. I genuinely think that it's going to be huge overhaul of the squad, and for the first time since probably when Gerrard arrived, when you consider the amount of players out of contract and age-wise and things. And I'd say earlier in the season, it's a bit ironic that Cammy Devlin wears the 14 shirt, Ryan Kent's supposed to be going, and then we say, but we've got too much midfielders, and we have. But then if Davis goes, Arfield goes, Glenn Kamara decides he wants to go, suddenly Ryan Jack consistently injured, suddenly you've not got any central midfielders. But I take everybody's point. There's a whole world out there, and I would like to think there's players that we don't even know of are the players that we're looking at. It was interesting at that, watching that Holland game, the guy that's became the Holland number one, Noppert, he's at Heerenveen and won his first cap at the World Cup, and he looks a good enough keeper. I'd like to hope that we've been keeping tabs on. We won't get Noppert now. He'll go to the Premier League for 100 million or something stupid now, just because he's a Holland number one. But I would like to hope that we are getting these players before they're on the general public radar. I do believe that's what it's maybe nothing to do with Ross Wilson. Apparently he does nothing. Nothing's his responsibility.
This fabled player trading model works, isn't it?
Yeah, everything's his responsibility. I think he's responsible for selling Calvin Bassey, but he's not responsible for bringing anybody else in or something. I don't know. The good things is Ross Wilson. The bad things are nothing to do with him. That sort of thing. But he got John Park in to lead the scouting team and all that. I would like to hope that we are out there looking for players that we can build on. We need a new goalkeeper. It's a priority. I'd love to get a new goalkeeper in January.
100%.
I would love to see a new goalkeeper in January. How Michael Beale's going to play, we've been crying out for a right winger for years. Then we signed Robbie Montondo and find out that he played on the left wing consistently. These are the sort of, I don't know what stats and stuff to look at, but Beale's going to have to identify, and I think there probably has been words during the World Cup with players to find out where their heads are at and if they're going to be here next season. And I'll throw in my Football Manager reference. When you've got your squad planner for this season and next season, I'd hope that Beale's got a wee professional one of those, and he can look at the positions that we're really going to have to fill. Because, yeah, the figures were great at the AGM, and we're going to make profit again this year with the Barcy sale and Aribo and the Champions League money, and probably the most of all from the Champions League tickets. I think the club made about 100 million off the price of the tickets, but it's going to be interesting. And like I say, my biggest hope is that we sign somebody that I've never heard of that turns into the next Colin Barcy or something and rips it up, because there are players out there, and if St Mirren can sign players that go to the World Cup, then we must be all over that sort of thing. So yeah, it'll be an interesting month ahead, so I look forward to it, and hopefully we won't just get the same rumours. Nicholas Raskin, get him signed or get it in the bin. But hearing rumours, I hate rumours, the same rumours going on for it. It's just cheap media, clickbait. Just the same players consistently linked.
That's half the thing with Porteous, isn't it? It's just an easy, lazy link to make, because we need, depth in that area, because obviously, it's like Hollander and that, always out injured. Davis, jury's out on how sort of reliable he is. So it's an easy, lazy link, but realistically, has anyone within Rangers actually said they're interested in Porteous? I'd be surprised.
I think the only thing that ever came was Jim Duffy said it in Clyde Super Scope.
Aye.
The Scottish media decided that's gospel.
You look at it, right? Beale's got the guys wearing suits because of, expectations and standards. But he's going to go and sign Ryan fucking Porteous. Don't think so.
Yeah. I'm not saying any more than Porteous. He's boring enough in my time.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it as well. I think that's, I was going to say we'll end it there, but we can't end it there. I was going to say, Shug, speaking of easy links and stuff like that, what's your thoughts on Billy Gilmore potentially joining Rangers then? I'm joking. I'm joking. I wouldn't put you through that. All right. I think we've, even though despite my lateness due to not being able to log on, but we've gone well over the hour there. That's been a really, really good discussion. The next podcast will get brought to you on, that'll be Wednesday evening. I'm sure there'll probably be a post-match reaction following the Hibs game on Thursday evening as well. But listen, it's been really, really good actually talking to you, Dave, on screen for once.
Aye, it's been a pleasure, Cal. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and nice to see you back, Shug, after your hiatus.
I know, it's good to be back just in time for the real stuff starting, like I say. So, yeah, looking forward to freezing my ass off on Thursday night, but hopefully it'll be fun in games.
That's it. If some plonker had knew that the Hibs were playing on Rangers were playing Hibs on Thursday night, he definitely wouldn't have booked a holiday away. But so he'll be away for this one. But I'll be watching from afar, and I hope Rangers win. But listen, take care, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching, and thanks for interacting as always. All right, see you later, guys.